Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Twin Flame Chronicles. We are going to start this in a really interesting way because we were both chatting before we hit record. We're both really fuzzy. Like Mercury Retrograde is hitting hardcore today. I did a couple of personal readings, but in between, actually I did like 4 personal readings today, and in between them I slept. Like I napped, and I wanted to start Aries season already. Like I want to get the Aries reading out. I want to get rolling. I'm ready to do it, but my body and my mind is like, no, you must close your eyes and sleep.
Yeah, I tried to, but with the baby, we tried to sleep, but I was like, we were both a little like in la la land today, just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, so I hope everybody's doing well. Mercury retrograde is almost over. It'll be direct on the 28th. So we have 6 days, but then we have those 2 weeks of post-shadow period. And then Jupiter goes in retrograde in April. So retrograde season is like we get a break for like a day.
Use it wisely.
A couple of days. That's technical. Those are technical terms I use. We're going to get a break for a day. But yeah, today, 2 days ago, the sun moved into Aries, and Chiron is in Aries, and they actually conjunct today. And which means,
I'm just going to start pulling cards while you're talking about this, because
yeah, this is the fuzzy nature of what's going on. We were talking about how I was going to tell everybody what's going on with the energy right now. And Amanda's going to do a reading. She's going to do an oracle reading with all this stuff. And then we'll chat about how that comes out. So Mercury and Neptune are also conjunct at the same time in Pisces. So Mercury retrograde, and what does conjunct mean? Conjunct means that they are at the same degree. Or like within just a couple of like 1 or 2 degrees of each other in the same sign. So it's what's happening right now is I didn't put my phone on do not disturb. Why didn't somebody tell me that?
Because of the fuzzies. Because of the fuzzies.
So literally what's happening right now is Mercury retrograde conjunct with Neptune is trying to show you where things are an illusion. And since Neptune is in its home sign of Pisces until, I believe it's 2025. I'm going to double check that really quick because
I think that's what, yeah.
2025 until March 30th, so legit 5 years from now. We have 5 more years of Neptune in Pisces. And Neptune it's all about illusion. It's all about, and I'm not saying that Pisces are delusional because they're extremely intelligent individuals. They just have this creative side to them. Mercury in retrograde.
The earthly weaver of worlds. That's exactly what's going on.
What is it?
The earthly weaver of worlds.
Oh, there you go.
Because you're bridging the 2 worlds and you're able to kind of manifest and create as you go along because you use your intuition. And that's what Pisces season is all about.
Yeah. See, I love that. That's why we wanted to do that this way. I was pulling cards and I was talking about the energy so you could like actually see that the energy is real.
It works. Energy is
magic.
John calls it the hippie woo-woo stuff.
Yeah, woo-woo stuff. I need a magic ball. Like seriously, I need to have a magic ball.
Wait, hang on. I got us. There we go.
Oh, there you go. It's like rub the Buddha. And with Aries and Chiron, the illusions that are coming to light right now are all about our wounds and our healing, because Aries is known as the warrior. And so the sun is illuminating those wounds that we need to like find that warrior spirit and bring out and be like, yes, I don't know what that is. What does it say? Those cards are
werewolf. Exploring the wildness.
There you go. Exploring. And that's exactly what Aries do.
Yep.
I actually find that Aries are much more calm than people. Like inside they're boiling, but on the outside they're like super calm and collected.
But that's a terrifying part is they don't show their rage. So you're standing there and I'm like, I can't tell if you're angry and you're about to cut me or if you're genuinely like
Exactly. I've known so many Aries in my life, and they can be the most calm individuals, but you have no idea what they're plotting on the inside. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
It is so terrifying, but it's awesome. Like I don't have any Aries in my chart. I don't think. Maybe one placement that's hidden in the depths of something.
I was gonna say I don't think I have any in mind.
Yeah. Which
would make sense for us.
It would, because I'm so not like I could not be terrifying. Nobody looks at me and thinks, "Oh, I'm scared of her." Like no, nobody's ever been scared.
Should we ask your kids? They
might be a little scared.
I was gonna say,
you know what? The older ones just laugh now. Now they're like, "Yeah, Mom, sure. I dare you." They're like, they're daring. I dare you, Mom. So that's the energy that's going on right now. And this weekend is actually going to be pretty good. That Libra full moon, I know it was kind of like a mixed bag. Like some people really, really, really had a hard time with it because you were being shown with the Libra full moon, which that energy lasts for a month, basically, until we get to the new moon. And the next new moon is going to be in Taurus. But we have this Libra full moon energy is all, actually, no, the next new moon is going to be in Aries in the beginning of April. My bad.
It's the fuzzies.
No, so the Libra full moon is really showing us like where we need to have balance in our relationships. And because the Libra full moon was at 0 degrees Aries on the spring equinox, there are so many new, like this is the beginning of the new zodiac year. Happy New Year to everybody who celebrates the new zodiac year. Cheers to that. Let's just.
Wow, I like subconsciously did that. Didn't even notice that. I was like, yeah.
Cheers to the new year. Party time. And but at the same time, so we had these.
That's literally like.
What does that one say?
It's joy, rejoicing in the present. So party time with Aries season.
Yeah. And it is like, we're ready for new beginnings. We're ready to start stuff. But that Libra full moon was like, you got to close things out first. That's why I love the Libra full moon, because the Libra full moon is always, to me, it is that healthy balance of beginnings and endings. I've always, and like I had a great time. My son, my 15-year-old is a Libra rising, like we are. Amanda's also a Libra rising. And yesterday he and I were talking about how much lighter the energy is now. Like last week was friggin' like
it's so funny because like last week for you was that way, and like this week is lighter, whereas last week for me was super light, and this week for me it's like,
I feel like the reason why that happens is because if all light workers went through the exact same energy at the exact same, can you imagine how miserable
chaos. Absolute
chaos. It really would be. But like, I know my kids feed off of my energy and I feed off of theirs. And we share a lot of this. I mean, obviously they have those DNA strands of mine. So we often will talk about how, and Aiden and I are so in sync. It's ridiculous. Aiden's my 15-year-old. We're so in sync. It's ridiculous. I'll text him and be like, "Are you feeling off today?" And he'll be like,
"Same thing you do with me."
He's like, "I was just about to ask you the same thing." All right, Amanda, read.
So, it's so funny because like when you were talking about the Libra full moon and all of the shadow aspects, what is an aspect? It's a new word. Look it up in the Urban Dictionary.
It means we don't know.
Yeah, right. This card was the last card to come out in reference to that, and it's the Vampire and Emotional Intelligence. And I feel like right now everyone's being kind of affected and triggered by this full moon to really go within and figure out their emotions and put a name to those emotions as opposed to just feeling them, because I feel like you can feel your way through life, and that's great. That's wonderful to be able to do that. But unless you can put a name to those emotions, you can't heal old wounds. You can't move forward. You're going to stay stuck in the same place. So I feel like this full moon was all about diving within and like you said, balancing out that, like, okay, the joy you have within you to move forward, but also recognizing that there's still stuff that you need to work through to be able to move forward, and understanding that there has to be a balance for you to get to where you want to go.
Yeah. Where do you think, I'll tell you mine too, but where do you think your balance is? Like, what are you still working on versus where you know you've already healed?
So for me, let me think on, I feel like I've got, well, obviously trust issues. That's a lifelong thing. I think that's a karmic thing that I'm healing. And it's an ego thing. And I'm well aware that it's an ego aspect. I feel like I'm pretty balanced in understanding my emotions and putting a name to them. So that's where I've done my healing, but that doesn't mean that I necessarily still am not triggered by things. So I'm very aware of the emotions that I have, and when I put a name to them, I work through that. But sometimes it's a little more difficult because you look at it and you're like, I shouldn't still be triggered by this. Like, I thought we worked through this.
And that happens to me all the time. And when that comes up in like the alignment coaching that I do, the sessions and stuff that I do, people ask me, like, how do you get past it? How do you heal that part? How do you do this? And I said, sometimes there's a wound within you that you will be triggered on for your entire life. And the reason why is because it is so deeply embedded from lifetime after lifetime after lifetime that it's like, it may not be this lifetime that you're supposed to heal that. You're just, but recognizing it and knowing that it triggers you, it lessens.
It does.
It's not like the rejection and abandonment issue. That's where mine is, that I know that is a lifelong healing. The rejection because it doesn't trigger me as bad as it used to. I've healed the relationship with my father, and I didn't even really, like, he doesn't even know that we had a problem. Like, I healed it within myself. It's not like I looked at my dad and I said, did you know that we have healed our relationship? Like, it wasn't
we're fine now.
A party was not thrown in honor of us healing our relationship. He didn't even, I'm sure he probably thought that we've been good for years. And when I finally recognized what it was that kept on triggering me about that, and it still does, like with Ryan, poor Amanda, like she'll get the brunt end sometimes because I'm like, I don't understand why this is happening. And she's like, it's your ego. This is why this is going on. Like, she and like Amanda and I, it's always nice to have somebody that says, you're in your ego right now. Stop it. Because I feel like that's our reality. Like
you've literally done that to me all day today. And it's literally the best to have that friend that's like, that's great. That's what you're creating all of this stuff up here that isn't actually occurring. It's your ego telling you that these things are occurring, and that's not what's going on. Right.
And so you can be, because I consider myself in full alignment with who I am. And it's weird. Like, I just got goosebumps because it's weird to say that. It's not,
because your ego makes you think that it's wrong to think that.
Yes. Yeah. To be able to put myself up on that pedestal and say, I did work. I worked really, really hard to get to where I am. And I am not triggered by things. People don't make me angry anymore. I'm not one of those, I can get into situations that I used to like normally get really like road rage. I used to have really bad road rage. And now I just look at people like being like cutting me off and doing stupid things. And I'm like, that's not going to get you anywhere in life. So I'm not really, like I'll talk to, like they can't hear me, but instead of me cursing and screaming and yelling like I used to, because I used to, everybody's like, you're so sweet though. Why would you curse and yell at people? I'm like, oh, it happens. That Virgo will
because stuff.
Because things.
But like, I think it's funny because I think you and I both dealt with the self-worth trigger.
Yeah.
And I feel that still triggers me, but not as much, like you said, with the anger thing. Like, I still get triggered by it occasionally, but for the most part, I'm kind of like, okay, if that's how you want to live your life, that's great. But this is how I'm living mine because this is in alignment with who I am. And I'm okay with that now.
Yeah.
But that comes from healing, that self-worth root trigger. I guess you would call it root trigger because it is your root. That's your,
and your sacral.
Yeah. Sacral and root. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, the self-worth really comes from having a deep need to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
And when you, it's funny because like in every single alignment session that I did today or reading that I did, it was all about finding, like, loving yourself, like doing something to and now is the time to do that in existence. Like, you can no longer rely on outside sources to make you feel better as a person. Like, you can no longer, and if you don't know how to find your own self-worth, and if you don't know how to find your own self-love, you're just going to be miserable. It's going to be a very miserable existence for you, especially this year, as everybody is like kind of coming into their alignment and learning. You know what's really funny is I almost picked up my cards and started shuffling too. Just to have something.
Did you really? Oh my God. Okay. So I pulled from the Romance Angels. I think that's, the Romance Angels. I don't know why I love these so much. Like, I just really, like, it feels like even though they're like meant to be used in like a couple scenario, like whenever I use them for myself, I'm like, oh, okay, like I do need to do that. So like I pulled Honeymoon.
Oh.
So I feel like that's in relation to the fact that now, like you were talking about, now is the time to really cater to yourself and pamper yourself and treat yourself to those things that you would normally.
I don't even mean in like a physical way. I mean,
no,
like an emotional support.
Like being gentle with yourself.
Yeah, and removing the people in your life or in your energetic space that only bring you down, that only like are of low vibrational. That is self-love. That is self-care.
That's so funny because this is calling in your soulmate, which I'm not even looking at what that is because I feel like your soulmate could just be relating to calling in your soul and your soul purpose.
Oh, no, you need to be your own soulmate for sure.
Yeah. So I feel like that's in relation to doing those things. It says your prayers, affirmations, and visualizations help bring you together. So I feel like that's in complete alignment with what you were talking about how doing those things like meditating, taking Epsom salt baths, and really go like being gentle with yourself and saying, you know what, it's okay that I'm tired right now. It's okay that I'm tired. It's okay to relax. It's okay to sit down for 40 minutes and watch the Kardashians if you want to. Like,
don't tell people my secrets.
It's fine because I'm so addicted to Yummy Mummies and it's the worst show in the world, but it's so addictive.
When I want to tune out to life, I watch really bad reality TV, and that is my guilty pleasure. So,
well, it's so like, you know, the hypnotherapy class I did, they have a whole section on talking about how like TV is trance work because you shut your mind off. It's meditative in a way because you're focused on that, so your subconscious has time to kind of relax.
It's so funny is I crochet while I watch TV. So I'm like literally getting therapy on all sorts of levels. And
yeah,
and the thing is like, it's not like I'm watching like violence or anything like that. It's kind of ridiculous sometimes, but there's no like violence involved, right? So it's all just kind of silly. What?
My guilty pleasures are like, serial killer. I'm like serial killer documentaries. I'm about it.
Oh no, I do that too. But it's not like I'm not watching something that's going to trigger me. You know, like I'm not watching something that's going to trigger something dark within me.
I don't know why. I just thought of like I Am Legend, where that he has to choke the dog. Like that just came to mind. Like I can't
even talk about that. Like anything that has to do with like babies or animals, I can't. That would trigger me and it would put me into a dark place. See, this is like self-care 101. Don't watch things that trigger you and put you in a dark place. Don't watch things that are low vibrational.
But serial killer documentaries are good for learning what not to do and how to stay in alignment. That's
So is getting married and divorced twice.
There you go. Boom.
I can teach people what not to do.
We just cheers to that, like randomly,
really
like pick it up at the same time.
What not to do. That's what I tell people. I'm like, don't be like Betsy.
Betsyisms.
Hashtag Betsyisms. Speaking of, I have this, I don't know, my clothing line, that's what you can call it, is out.
I'm about it.
We'll put the link in the description box. I put it on Instagram, and I haven't even put it on the Fearless Intuition channel yet. So Twin Flame Chronicles is getting
what special debut
of my t-shirts, t-shirts, coffee mugs, hoodies. Soon we'll be adding hats and tank tops for the summer.
That means I'm gonna have to start doing like push-ups and stuff. Cause
sister, you know what? Like at least I know my intuition is pushing me to the gym, because at least 3 or 4 times a day I think I should be on the treadmill right now. I should be on the treadmill right now. Amanda told me this a couple of days ago. She's like, I feel like you need to go for a walk.
Like, and then I went for a walk
off of a long pier. No.
Bring your swimsuit.
Go take a hike. So, but I even I was looking for some walking shoes yesterday too. So,
but again, I think that's part of like the self-care. Like right now we're taking those baby steps to what we know we're supposed to be doing. Like I've been reading the Medical Medium book on well, I forgot the name, but that's not important. But one of those books by the Medical Medium. And I'm like, I know my soul's pushing me in those directions, but I'm being very gentle with myself and saying, you know what? Read, learn, and take the baby steps towards what you know you're supposed to be doing, but don't rush it and don't beat yourself up for not rushing it.
Yeah.
You literally just had the most
cancer
of cancer moments where you just
my Mars and Cancer just came out. Reared its ugly head. Hi. 10th house. 10th house, what? Because when I'm done, I'm done.
I was gonna say you just see it.
I told somebody today that Cancers and Virgos are so similar in nature, because we are like, you guys are tougher than Virgos are, because you have that tough outer exterior, right?
We're crabby.
Well, but you can handle a lot more. Like, I mean, you throw something at a Virgo and it bounces off the gray cloak. It's like you throw something at a crab and like you can't get through that shell.
Nope.
We get concussions a lot easier.
Yep. I was gonna say you guys you're like a piece of fruit. You bruise easier.
We do. And the thing is we show it in a really weird, like we try to be like Cancers, like, oh yeah, I'm so tough. I can handle anything. But when it comes right down to it, you take that cloak off and it's like bruised all up and down. And like, I'm saying cloak, like the hermit. I did that like I was holding a card.
I know. I was like, slap it down.
It's that Mercury retrograde that part of me is like, should I really be doing any type of reading until Mercury retrograde is over? But the other part of me is when I do the personal readings, they come out
perfect.
It's like I go to another world right now. Like I literally today channeled for an hour. And then I told the girl, I was like, I'm sorry, that was all like intuitive channeling. I did some cards, but it was mainly like this huge channeling session. And I was like, damn. And she said, I needed to hear every word of that. And I thank you so much that you recorded it, because I need to hear it again and again.
Mm-hmm.
And again. So personal readings are like on point right now. Personal life is a little bit messy.
Yeah. It's just I feel like that's like the general collective right now, because like we're all going through a period where blindfolds are being ripped off and things that we thought were certain ways are not that way at all. And we're having to kind of reframe, readjust the sails and figure out, okay, which direction do I go in now? And damn water energy.
Maybe you're still supposed to be going in that direction.
Right.
But you just have to adjust a little bit. And people around you have to adjust a little bit.
And learn to be okay with that.
Right. Exactly.
Again, coming full circle.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing is, I had a good friend of mine, and she'll probably be watching this later after we post it. She texted me earlier, and she's like, it's so weird. It's like the timeline of when things are happening are basically the same as they were last year at the same time. And I was like, that was literally my 2017 and 2018. I was reliving experiences. And so even though my life was completely different than one year to the next, I was still, there were still some things that were very eerily similar in time frame that happened. And I said, what I found was that there were lessons and healing moments that I had not learned or gotten past the previous year and had to relive it all over again. Even though I had grown, there was still this, no, you've got to do this. I mean, it's so apparently clear now, like when you are literally living deja vu, it's not like a twisted little thing that happens where you're like, oh my gosh, that's happened before. You are consciously aware now that you're doing it. And you're like consciously aware of being like, didn't I do this last year? Like the same time, didn't I meet up with this person? And this year I can say 112%, totally different than last year, totally different than 2017. I am not doing the same thing at all, like at all. And I'm okay with that. I am really okay with that. Really glad that I'm not reliving my life for the third time. It's good.
Yes.
Good.
So what you were talking, it's so funny. No, because like we were talking about adjusting sails and, well, I was talking about adjusting sails. You were talking about not necessarily needing to go in a different direction. And this was the card that came out, was narrow pathway, tread thoughtfully. Oh. So to me, I feel like that's just kind of reminding us that it seems like the path that we're walking is getting more narrow. Like, yes, we're having to refocus and take the blindfold off and all this other stuff, but the pathway didn't change, just the circumstances did. And you feel tighter squeezed into those circumstances. Yeah. That, you know, you're not necessarily, you don't have as much wiggle room as you've had before. But
so how do we relate this to the twin flame experience?
Like, so for me, I feel like, and I'll just share a little bit about my personal experience, not like in depth, but right now I've been triggered by John, my twin. And I feel like,
it's fun when they do that.
Oh my God. Right. But I'm supposed to learn something from it. So I'm just kind of taking it day by day. But I feel like it's in those moments of being triggered, remembering that it's so funny. Like you're like, oh, how do we bring it back to the twin flame? And this was like the second card that came out with it, which is reaching your destination. Your light is shining brightly. Is remembering that final destination, keeping in mind that even though the path seems narrower because you've been triggered and you're not really sure where to go with it, and it seems like the trail's just going to come to an end and that everything's coming to an end and the world is falling and everything's terrible, that there is that final end destination. And I think one thing we forget in the twin flame journey is that the ultimate goal is union, whether that's in this lifetime, the next lifetime, but ultimately union has to come from within first. And being triggered means you're healing.
Right.
And sometimes we lose sight of that.
What I've really learned myself, especially through being triggered by a true twin, because I before I was only triggered by a karmic when I thought he was my true, but it was painful. It was so much more.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't a painful triggering like what you've been, what your triggering is, because I know your triggering is not easy.
Yeah, but it's easy. It's less blunt. then
the one that I like triggering what I went through for 2 years was like ripping all the way down my throat into my soul, ripping it out, doing this to it, and then putting it back like it was normal.
You know what it is? It's like the difference between being depressed and just sad.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
yes, the
you're triggering was depression.
Definitely depressing. But you know what's funny is like the whole time I told myself I was supposed to be going through this. I'm supposed to be going, and I knew I was. I knew there was a reason for me to be going through it, and I wasn't miserable the whole time. I mean, obviously, I was so completely broken more often than people realized in the last 2 years. But when I'm triggered by Ryan now, it's I recognize it, and I think, all right, that didn't feel good.
It's like a ping.
Stop myself in the moment, and I'm like, ew. First of all, ew.
I feel like you text me that at least once a week, like, or like I say something, you're like, I'm triggered by this, and then I like repeat back, and I'm like, that's your ego, and you're like, ew.
Ew.
That's all you say.
That made me cry a little. But I can stop myself, and this is all about being self-aware, and this is that alignment that we talk about. You are so consciously aware of your present moment and your present experience that you allow yourself to not only be triggered by it, because you know that you have to be triggered by it. The universe isn't just being like, ooh, magnifying glass, let's trigger Betsy today. No, that's not what's happening.
Like the magnifying glass with the ants.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not about that. It's about what is it in that present moment that is driving you so crazy and so insane that you feel like something needs to be like shook up in there and within you and allow you to heal in that moment. And it's not comfortable, but being consciously aware of it makes it so much easier. And not getting offended by being triggered makes it so much easier. And that's exactly what being self-aware and conscious of where you are on your journey. Because the reason why I feel like I'm saying this is so many divine feminines are angry with their divine masculines and like, why can't he just show up and why can't he just do the healing? And I have to look at them and say, but are you doing the healing? Because you can't expect him to do the healing if you're not doing the healing. How is that even fair? If one of you or both of you are in karmic situations and you expect him to leave his karmic situation, I feel like this has a lot to do with the Libra full moon balancing out relationships and stuff. If both of you are in karmic situations or one of you are in karmic situations and you're expecting your divine masculine to leave his karmic situation, but you're not doing anything about yours, how is that fair? You have to be in charge of stay in your lane. You have to be in charge of your own journey.
John says that all the time. I'm sorry. It's so funny because John just says that all the time. He's like, stay in your lane. Like, don't be nosy. Don't be petty. Stay in your lane.
Right. Well, it's true. It's like, don't, I mean, if you're not doing the work, you cannot expect your twin flame to be doing the work.
And I think that's funny because like, it's one of those things that it's like, okay, union and being with your twin flame is a form of alignment. And you really have to take a second and look and be like, okay, am I aligned? Because if you're not aligned, then how can you be in alignment with someone else? You can't. It just doesn't work. Sure. I mean, you may be there, but it's not going to be pleasant and it's going to be combative.
I tell people that, like, when, I almost have decided to take off the regular twin flame reading that I normally do because I would rather do the twin flame alignment instead, because I have, mastering yourself, the alignment, and then, the twin flame alignment as well. Which is really basically the same thing because we're going to focus on you and your journey and not your twin flames journey, because it has absolutely, like, what they're doing doesn't even matter.
Mm-mm.
And shouldn't matter. What matters is you and where you are and where and people will that's an unpopular opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That it doesn't matter what your twin flame is doing, because it doesn't. When you are aligned in your soul, your twin flame will find you.
Mm-hmm.
Your twin flame will come into union with you. If you are aligned within your soul and your twin flame is not, but you're still in union, your twin flame will be pushed to align. But what I feel like is actually happening is, more often than not, the divine feminine will come into alignment, whereas the divine masculine still needs to find that alignment even in union.
And I think that's,
I don't know why,
but we don't need to beat them up for it, is the thing. Is I feel like there's this collective energy of just beating down the divine masculine for not being in alignment. And it's like, you also have to remember what type of society we've lived in that teach men that they can't show these emotions and that they can't do this. And
they're not allowed to be vulnerable. It's not okay.
Right. So when they're triggered, their automatic response is to shut down.
Right.
Well, guess what? Guess what this full moon's doing? Ripping that right off.
Yeah. And it's not even fun. It's like, there's like a big hairy arm with a Band-Aid on it. And it's the Band-Aid that's like,
it's like Chewbacca with like the huge, like, medical grade
Band-Aid. Yeah. And we're just going, rip.
Yep.
It's like taking them to get their first wax.
Ooh. Their first Brazilian. Their first manzillion.
A Brazilian wax. Ooh. I can't even. Like, I'm not even a male and I can't.
Oh. No ingrown hairs that way, though.
True. That is true. I never thought of it that way. I never thought of that.
Yep.
Good point. Anyway.
But back to the point. Yep.
I honestly think that the divine feminine, we all just need to take a big collective breath and allow the divine masculines to do the work and not beat the crap out of them while they're doing it.
Yeah. Don't make them feel worse than their ego is.
It pushes them further away.
Yeah.
When you're mean to them about it. And if you find that you are, people ask me, how do you know that whether it's your twin flame or it's your karmic? If you are doing the work and you're coming into alignment with yourself and the divine masculine who you believe is your twin flame is moving further away from you as you come into alignment, it is a karmic. 100%. If you are doing the work and you are coming into alignment with yourself and your divine masculine who was once really, really against not coming into alignment and decides, oh, maybe it's time I start working on myself. That would be a true twin. Now.
Not pointing any fingers, but.
No, I'm not pointing any fingers either. If you are 100% honest with yourself, that will ring true to a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people just had aha moments.
Yeah. Like my chest is like, whoa.
Yeah. Like yeah. I do. I like literally when I said that, I feel like everybody went, whoa. Wow. Because you can make excuses, but he is working on himself. He just isn't admitting it. And
the thing with the twin flame is you can feel it.
Yeah.
You can feel when they're because you feed off of their energy. So to those of you who are constantly searching out, is he my twin? Is he my twin? You know, deep down, you know.
If you
have the answers.
Ask too, I honestly want to say that what you want to do is if you're constantly questioning on whether this person is your twin or not, I, as a general rule, they're not your twin until you 100% can, like, because there's no doubt, there's no doubt in my mind that Ryan's my twin, whereas there was a doubt. before. And you remember, like, I was doubting every single month.
Yep.
For 2 years, I doubted every single month. It was like,
with John, when we first started talking, it's funny because I knew I was so confused with it. I was like, he is just not the type I would normally go for. But for some reason, like, I just can't stop myself. Like, there's just something about him. So when I went through my dark night of the soul and we went through the separation, runner chaser phase and all of that, I talked to a lot of different readers, a lot of different people. And I had a few that were like, oh no, he's not your twin flame. And I would tell them they were wrong. There is an absolute knowing.
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. I'm like, and how do you go to a reader for advice and you're like, oh no, you're wrong because I know best. Well, then why are you here? Like, that's, but there is a knowing within your soul that if someone tells you something that's not in alignment with what you know to be true, it's not going to feel right.
Right.
So if it doesn't feel right and you have to constantly question it, chances are it's not right and it's not true.
And that's another unpopular, like, there are some unpopular opinions out there. And I have a hard time telling people that they are not with their twin flame, that they're with their karmic. It's getting easier to say it, though. It is getting a lot easier for me to do readings or do alignment coachings with people and say, this is not your twin flame. This is somebody who is here to teach you this lesson, and this lesson. And of course, if you ever have a question, you can get a reading from Amanda or myself. I kind of want people to come and have readings with you.
Yeah.
We'll put Amanda's email address below if anybody's interested in getting a reading with Amanda. Because she really brings out a totally different aspect than I do with twin flame readings. The energy of the reading is different because I do the advice stuff, and I feel like you are more of an energetic aura. Does that make sense? Did I say that correctly?
I feel like I pick up on where you're at now and what's going on in your current situation. And Betsy is very good at being like, okay, and this is what's coming.
Yeah. And
I focus more on where you're at in the current situation and how to get in alignment with yourself currently. Not necessarily, I'm very much about the present moment and getting in alignment currently, because it doesn't, to be honest, if you're not going to do the work now, it's not going to matter later on. Like,
oh, right. Well, and that's,
you're going to be coming back for another reading.
That's exactly why, one of the reasons why I wanted to take the twin flame reading off, and focus on the self-alignment now. But I do know, there's a lot of people out there that want to know what's going on in their future. And I have to say, if you don't know what's going on in your present, then you certainly don't need to know what's going on in your future, because that's going to change.
Yeah.
When you get right with your present, your future will change like that. So anyway, we'll put all of that information below. I
feel like we kind of got off on a windy road of a reading.
Yeah, and we always do.
Yeah.
And then we always come back. So, I think that's a wrap. That's good.
Yeah.
I hope everybody's doing really well with this Mercury retrograde.
And being gentle with yourself.
Yeah. And don't take things so personally. That's a really big thing. Don't take things so personally. Life is not as hard as it should be.
Don't take yourself too seriously. That's really key.
Yeah. I got to show you my shirt really quick, though.
What is it?
It says, "You short my circuit." It's a robot with a heart. And it says, "You short my circuit."
It's funny because you're short too.
I know. For those who don't know, I am only 4'11". So when we say I'm short, we're talking like when on a bad day, I call myself the angry little midget.
You're like a fun-sized candy bar. It's fine.
I am.
Less calories, so it's not as damaging. So you can take more of you. Yes.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us for our awkward talk. I promise it won't always be this awkward. It's just Mercury retrograde. Yay!
Woo!
I feel like I need to have one of those popper things that like has confetti that goes everywhere. Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde.
Or like the whistleblowers and stuff. That's
Yeah. Next time on Twin Flame Chronicles. All right. Have a good night. Bye.